Hello, welcome to Culture TV and to our online program, Let's Speak Russian. This is lesson 26. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to form the future tense in Russian. However, to start off, we will just have a look at the answers to the homework from last time. I gave you these 5 phrases to translate into Russian, so let's see how you got on. First one, does anyone know how to swim? Well, here we're looking for a very specific verb in Russian, and we saw this quite a few lessons ago. It means to have an ability to do something. So not just can, but specifically, not necessarily being talented, but having the skill. And that would be уметь. Okay? So therefore, the translation will be кто-нибудь умеет плавать? Кто-нибудь умеет плавать? Remember that we raise our voice slightly at the end just to indicate that we're asking a question, okay? Now look, кто-нибудь in this case means someone, not anyone, because there isn't really an equivalent of anyone in Russian. And we use кто-нибудь and not кто-то because, well, it's hard to explain as you know, but you're speaking to a group of people that presumably you are seeing, so it's not that you don't know about them, it's that you don't mind, you're not really bothered about who specifically out of these people can swim. You're just interested whether anyone can swim out of them. So that's why кто-нибудь is more appropriate. In fact, кто-то would be incorrect here. And also notice that in English we say, does anyone know? So we treat anyone as if it's the third person plural. In Russian we don't do that, we do the opposite. We treat кто-нибудь as the third person singular. So it's кто-нибудь умеет, as if it's он умеет, or она умеет, and so on. Okay? So once more, кто-нибудь умеет плавать? Okay? Right, next one. Why do you never run? That will be почему ты никогда не бегаешь? Почему ты никогда не бегаешь? Remember that we have to use the double negative construction here because in Russian we have to have the 2 negations, okay? So никогда не. Alright? Next one. Everybody knows this town. It will be все, and now attention, знают этот город. So again it's the opposite. In English it's everybody knows, as if it's third person singular. In Russian we do the inverse, okay? Все знают этот город. Okay? The next one, I always have something. У меня всегда что-нибудь есть. У меня всегда что-нибудь есть. So you might be wondering why have we put есть to the end of the sentence when the construction I have is у меня есть. Well, the good news for you is that in Russian word order is actually very relaxed and you don't have to follow strict rules. However, in this case it just sounds better, and that is the only reason I can give. It just sounds better to put есть at the end. I mean, you could say у меня есть всегда что-нибудь, but it sounds a bit off to the Russian ear, so to speak. Okay. Then, что-нибудь, in this case, can be interchanged with что-то. So you can use both here, although the meaning will slightly differ. If you want to say something like, I always have something to eat, I always have something to drink, presumably at your house, then yes, что-нибудь is better to use. However, if you were to say у меня всегда что-то есть, that can be interpreted as you have some kind of problem, maybe even an illness. There's no way you could have predicted that. I'm not at all expecting you to be able to recognize that. No way. That isn't even an advanced topic. It's just something only native speakers can differentiate. So please don't worry about that. Что-нибудь and что-то both fine in this case. Then, they asked something. Они что-то спросили. Они что-то спросили. Okay? Not что-нибудь. In this case, it's not that we don't care what they asked, we don't know what they asked. Okay? Они что-то спросили. Okay, the future tense then. As you may have gathered already after having watched lesson 23, there are 2 ways to form the future tense in Russian. One uses the imperfective aspect and the other uses the perfective, okay? And they're sometimes referred to as the compound and simple future tense. I also have to draw your attention to the fact that there is no equivalent of the near future tense in Russian. So in English that is I am going to do, I am going to play, I'm going to see. That does not exist in Russian. You can't take the Russian verb to go, conjugate that in present tense thinking it would convey the future tense. Unfortunately, no, you can't do that. There are only two ways to convey the future tense in Russian. Okay, and we'll look at the first one right now, the simple future tense, and I have to be quite frank with you, I actually think that this is harder than the compound tense, but that's up to you to decide. Anyway, we take the perfective form of a verb in the infinitive, for example, сделать, and we treat it as an imperfective verb and we conjugate it in the present tense, okay? Now, I say treat it as if it's imperfective because if you remember in lesson 23, I said that you can't conjugate verbs in the perfective in the present tense. You can't, it's true. Why? Because it makes sense. A completed action can't be happening right now. So what we're doing is if we're changing this verb, we're changing the endings of this verb as if it's present tense, we're actually conveying the future. I know it's kind of ambiguous here. Yes, you can conjugate the verb itself, you can change its endings as if it's present tense, but it doesn't mean present tense, it means future, okay? And that's a clear difference that I have to highlight here. Conjugation in present tense, yes, but it doesn't mean it. It doesn't convey present, it conveys future, okay? Make sure that you understand that. So therefore, я сделаю means I will do, okay? I will do. Я сделаю. So let's just run through the conjugation of this verb in the future tense. It will be я сделаю, ты сделаешь, он, она, оно сделает, мы сделаем, вы сделаете, они сделают. Okay? Right, now let's take another verb. You know this verb already, написать. We saw this in lesson 24. Remember that it's a radical changing verb. I remind you that the alteration is se, he, she. Okay, so pause the video now and try conjugating this verb in the simple future tense. Okay, so it will be я напишу, I'll write, ты напишешь, you'll write, он, она, оно напишет, мы напишем, вы напишете, они напишут. Okay, now you're probably wondering why has the stress changed? Because in first person, we're stressing the last syllable, я напишу. Everywhere else, we're stressing the second syllable, ты напишешь, он напишет. And this is just an anomaly, an exception, okay, unfortunately. And the only rule really here is that if you get a radical changing verb, this is the pattern that we tend to observe. So if the consonant changes, in all persons apart from first singular, the stress will move somewhere, generally closer towards the start. Now again, you can't really predict this. You will only get used to this, get to know where the stress goes with practice. You will eventually start doing it automatically. It will just sound right to you to put the stress here and not elsewhere. To get to that stage though, you need to really spend a lot of time being exposed to Russian resources, texts, media, and so on. But if you get the stress wrong, seriously, there's nothing to worry about. Don't be concerned at all. Like, nobody's going to shoot you in the head if you get the stress wrong. Like, seriously, it's fine. Okay, so let's have a look at the compound future tense then. We will take the verb to be in Russian, which is быть. Now, you're probably screaming at the screen now saying that I told you in lesson 19 very clearly that there isn't the verb to be in Russian. It doesn't exist. I kind of lied to you there, okay. You can actually conjugate this verb, however, only in this case, for the future tense. You can also conjugate this verb in the past tense for the imperfect, that also works, or now for the future, but in the present tense, no, you can't. You have to use the dash, or you don't use the dash, or whatever. Remember, you can rewatch lesson 19 if you need to. Anyway, the point is as follows. We take this verb, we conjugate it, we will have я буду, ты будешь, он, она, оно будет, мы будем, вы будете, они будут. And as you can see, it's extremely irregular. Okay, so you need to learn this. Then all we do is we add on the infinitive in the imperfective aspect. Okay, so we take this verb, conjugate it, remember this conjugation, it's important, and then we simply add on the infinitive of the imperfective verb. That's it. So for example, if you want to say I will be doing in Russian, that will be я буду делать. Notice the difference with я сделаю. Я сделаю means that you will do, i.e. you will complete something, you'll have an achievement, an outcome, okay? It will be a completed action at that point that you're referring to in the future. However, я буду делать, I will be doing, so it will last over a continuous period of time, okay? Okay, so that concludes today's lesson. All I'd like you to do is to practice a few of these, practice both the compound future tense. If you want, you can experiment with a simple, although there is one issue, especially with the radical changing verbs. They do have very strange and peculiar conjugations sometimes, so just be aware of that. For now, the main task for you is to remember the conjugation of the verb быть in the future tense in order to form the compound future tense. Okay? If you have any questions, queries, or comments, yes, you know where to put them. Thank you very much for your attention. See you next time. Goodbye.